Coach Greg, and I am going to share with you today the aftermath, basically, of Chris Bumstead winning his Classic of Physique Olympia title. And basically, Ian Valliere is his coach. I coached Ian Valliere to get his pro card. I coached him for 3 shows back in the day, so I know what it's like to coach some top guys. And Chris Cormier is Breon Ansley's coach. So after the results were announced, Chris Cormier then went to Instagram and posted, "I call bull king shit!" Exclamation, exclamation. And so he was obviously extremely pissed that the results came in, that his client, his friend, came second. And so I totally understand what it's like to see your client, your friend, not placed where you think they should. And arguably, he has a good point. It could have gone that way. It could have been Breon that had won. It could have been Chris. It could have been George Peterson. Any of those guys could have won. The score was very close. It was a 1-point decision. What 1-point decision means is 3 judges had Chris in first and 2 had Breon in first. 1 decides to change their mind. The other guy's in Mr. Olympia. Guess what? Last year, 1-point decision the other way around. The year before, 2-point decision. The first year I had Chris winning and he lost by 2 points. Chris was not upset. He wasn't screaming mad. Ian wasn't mad. No one was mad. The next year, I had Chris in second. He got second. It was only 1 point. It could have gone either way. No one got mad when they got second. There was no post saying, "Oh my God, the judging." And it's just like, And then this year, it didn't go his way. And then the post is like, effing this and that. And it's like, and then there's a 1,000+ comments. Ian Valliere. I'm not going to go into exactly what was said. Thankfully, Chris Cormier, after a couple days, finally took it down because it was like getting out of hand. It was pretty crazy. A lot of people wrote me to talk about this and that they'd showed like, well, look what's happening. And so I thought it was a good teaching point to say, there's going to be decisions that suck for you. You can't take it away from the other athlete. Now, there's nothing wrong with going in and saying, "Man, I had my guy winning. I thought he looked better. Chris Bumstead's back sucked compared to Breon and George. How could he win?" But to say effing bullshit and all that, like, it's just the way you do it. You can argue and comment and say your opinion without totally making it look like the other guy sucks. So, like, the way it came out was, it basically was like, he doesn't deserve to win anything. He sucks. Like, Chris is, horrible. Look at his back. And it's like, it's not just the back. Chris is the worst back, but he had the best of a lot of other things. So it balances out. And so you want to have some sportsmanship and not just complain and make it look bad, because it brings it bad to everybody. I'm sure Breon is like realizing it's close and it could have gone either way. And it's not like it's him doing the post, it's the coach. And trust me, I've coached people in the past where I'm like, oh my God, how did you give this girl 13th place when she should have won? And it happens all the time. It happens all the time. But you can't say effing this and that. You have to talk about it in a diplomatic type of way. You can voice your concerns, voice your opinions, and still come across and say what you're meaning without looking like you're a complete asshole. That's just the way you can do it. And Chris came out looking really bad, okay? It just looked really bad. If he had said it a different way, he could have made the same valid points and argued it in his favor. George the Bull could be sitting there saying, "How did I not win? I'm the most ripped. I had the best back by far. I looked the best. I should win." But they don't see that post. And so what is going on with Classic Physique? They're trying to make the look a certain look. They're trying to go a certain way. And it's not inconsistency in judging. Classic Physique is the most subjective of the bodybuilding categories. So open bodybuilding, 212. They're looking for shredded and most muscle and this. Classic, it's not just who's the most shredded and the most muscle. It was kind of going that way, but they had to take a stand and say, okay, we're not just going to do this anymore. Because they could have easily gone with George because he was the best bodybuilder on the stage. And frankly, George could have won, and then you could have had Chris in second, and Breon could have been third. That's possible too. You know, so you can't just worry about that. So what are they going for? They're always going for a small waist. That's beyond question. That's for sure what they're looking for. They're looking for like an X frame, so really wide shoulders, small waist, and quads that flare out. It's like some of the basic things. Now, when you're taller like Chris Bumstead, you're bigger. He weighs 230. Breon is like 185. If Breon's 6 feet tall, he wins the show. He looks so much more imposing, but he's shorter. It's a disadvantage. He won 2 years in a row. He won 2 years in a row because he's that freaking good. He's that good that he beat out Chris, a taller Chris, even being shorter. I get into debates. Everyone, it's easier when you're short because you put muscle. Just shut up. It's not. It's not. When you're taller, you're going to look better if you get built tall. If Chris is 5'6" like me, he's not the Mr. Olympia champion. Look at Keon. Keon looks insane. Stupid insane. Keon does his front double bicep vacuum. It is stupid to look at. Imagine if he was 6 feet tall doing that. He would win the Mr. Olympia. It would be so imposing. It would be stupid to look at. Okay? So that's what's going on. Well, thankfully, Chris Cormier took the video down, it was basically a video saying his back's horrible and it went back and forth, but thankfully he took it down. But I thought I would share this so that you guys can see that it's very subjective. The categories can go either way. The scoring is this close and it can slide one spot left or right with ease. So don't worry. Another year, it might go the other way around. Now, Chris had a hamstring tear. He couldn't train properly. He had a hernia operation, and his health hasn't been the best since last year. And he still won. I would say he was at 90%. I don't think he was at his best. Frankly, 2 years ago, I still think he was better. And he didn't win, and I had him winning that year. If Chris comes in at 100%, he's going to win every single year until he doesn't want to win anymore. That's the way I see it. He's that good. So, I don't know. If you haven't seen him in person, you don't really maybe realize how good he is, but if you see him, you will see what I'm talking about. Debate all you like the spots, but don't do it in a way that's disrespectful to the person that beat you, because you don't want to take that win, that glory away from that person. So it kind of just occurred to me that I'm old. I'm 44 years old. I turned 44 yesterday. Chris Cormier is older than me. He's 52. He's older than Dexter Jackson. So I'm thinking a lot of you are probably like in your 20s and 30s. Maybe you have no clue who Chris Cormier even is. So when I started this video, I'm like, Chris Cormier, and I'm like assuming like everyone knows Chris Cormier because Chris Cormier was like a really awesome bodybuilder, basically from the 90s and the 2000s. And so unless you were born like, I don't know, if you're under 35, you might not even know who this dude is. So Chris Cormier was one of my favorite bodybuilders growing up. I loved his legs. He had this coolest sartorius muscle. If you don't know what the sartorius is, look it up. Chris Cormier was like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th Mr. Olympia, basically every year. Like not the top guy, but like close. So like a top 10 bodybuilder in the world, but not like the best bodybuilder. He was about 5'10" and like 250 on stage. He always competed in great shape, and he competed like 50 times and was awesome. So when Chris makes a post, and I mean, he has 250,000 followers on Instagram, and so when he makes a post like this, it's not like some just like loser coach that just doesn't give a shit that like no one knows or cares about. This is like a big deal because it's like a big name coach saying this. Like he's really popular. Like he has a lot of followers. So his opinion means quite a bit. Like imagine if like George Farah or Chris Aceto or I don't know, or even like think if Nick Strength and Power from YouTube says something, like so many people are going to be like, oh, it was on Nick Strength and Power, so it's kind of important. It's not like just some random coach that no one ever heard of says, oh, my guy should have won. Sportsmanship is important. Chris Bumstead is probably, I mean, if not the most sportsmanlike person I've ever met, definitely up there as one of them. I'm definitely not the most sportsmanship person. I am not. I'm not saying act like me. It's like, no. I'm more closer to Chris Cormier than like Chris Bumstead, because I just tell you what I think. So, you know, but I try not to be too like prickish about it to take it away from somebody else, but I'm going to tell you my opinion on what I think about somebody's look. I'm not going to pretend and lie and say, oh, he deserved to win if he didn't, or whatever, but I'm not going to try to take it away from the other guy if they did win. So, till next time, if you want to get a coach, gregdoucette.com, that's my website. Follow me on Instagram, Greg Doucette, IFBB Pro. Till next time.